Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women. On this show, you will learn how to create wealth through real estate the blissful way. That means with very little stress and very little time. We talk about strategies, mindset, heart set, money smarts, resources, and so much more to ensure you're able to create the success you most deeply desire. Now, here's your host, Moneeka Sawyer.
Today, I am so excited to welcome to the show Stephanie Walter. Stephanie is the CEO of Erbe Wealth. Actually, Stephanie, how do you pronounce that?
It's Erbe.
Erbe Wealth. Okay, she's the CEO of Erbe Wealth and a legacy cash flow specialist, capital raiser, syndicator, and real estate investor. She has been a financial educator for 15 years and a real estate syndicator. Stephanie's passion is teaching people to unlearn what most of us have been wired to think about money and re-educating people on attaining wealth that can be passed on to the next generation. Hey there, Stephanie. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I am so excited about this conversation because seriously, there are so many myths and ideas and literally lies that we are taught about money. Sorry, I hope that's not too strong a word, but like seriously, it's so awesome to have somebody come on board that's going to share some of their wisdom around this. So yay. But before we get started, could you tell us a little bit about your story, like how you got to where you are?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, I started, just like most people into the corporate world out of college and realized not too long thereafter when I was continually getting these 2% raises that this was not for me. So I quit my job and started an insurance agency actually in 2006. And I've always loved real estate. Never really had much training to it. So I went out and bought a lot of single family homes and kind of learned by my mistakes and successes on how to do that. And then I kind of decided I wanted to scale up in 2016 and really get some great education and learn more about possibly buying apartment complexes or commercial real estate. And I got into RE Mentor, which is a education program, kind of like getting your master's in commercial real estate, and did that and completed my first syndication in 2016. And then after that, just started getting to know people and became a partner with someone who didn't like to raise money. So I started raising money at that time. And ever since then, I've worked a lot with wealthy people. And that's just learned a lot from working with them about how they use their money, just kind of unlearning everything I think we're all taught to just, as fact. And I transitioned a lot of my assets, just kind of doing what they were doing. And let's see, June 30th, I have sold my business, my day business which is insurance, and I'm retired. Other than, I'll continue to raise money and talk about, I like to teach people about what I've learned because I believe it's my path is definitely doable for everybody.
Nice. I love that. So I'm so curious. Could you share with us some of these things that you learned, right, from wealthy people? Because what is true about wealthy people is they do think differently about money and investing than other people. And what's also interesting is how we define wealthy, right? So I kind of want to give a little bit of my perspective also on this and that. So I live in California. And people are really impressed with the income that we make and the net worth that we have and that sort of thing. But for a Californian, we're fairly like we're upper middle class. We're not the wealthy around here, right? The wealthy around here are more like Bill Gates, Bezos, Zuck, right? These guys are wealthy. And for
Right.
us, we're kind of upper middle class. So even me, even though I've had a huge education in building wealth, my dad was a great mentor even as a young person. Still, I don't think that I even have that real wealth mindset because I'm not a wealthy person in my community. Does that make sense? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm so eager to hear like people that define themselves as wealthy. What are those things that they do differently than the rest of us, right?
Yeah. Well, I think what's sort of interesting about that, and you probably know that from where you live, is that you're not always going to recognize a very wealthy person.
Yes.
A very wealthy person, a lot that I deal with, you would never know. They live in a pretty average house. They drive pretty average cars, but their net worth is pretty impressive. But I think the thing that you notice by going through their finances pretty clearly is that they don't invest. They invest largely in real estate. That's the bulk of their investments. Or they invest in businesses, directly in businesses, not in mutual
Stock.
funds.
Mhm.
If they invest in stock, it's usually, oh, I got this tip from so and so, and it's just kind of almost like their fun money. But what they're very concerned with doing, and what they would probably tell you, is that cash flow to them is more important than net worth. And there's a perfect example of what you're saying in your community, is that you've got a lot of people that probably have very significant net worth, but yet they may be working paycheck to paycheck to keep that lifestyle where it is. Whereas someone who's wealthy is very, very, very concerned with cash flow, and that the cash flow is building up enough so that it replaces their income, so that they can really do what they want to do, that the cash flow coming in they has replaced their income, so they're able to do really what they want to do, what they love to do, to contribute to society. So I think that's the biggest thing that I learned, is that, most wealthy people don't really talk a lot about their net worth, even though it probably is pretty impressive, but cash flow to them is huge. And I learned that lesson myself because I live in Colorado. Colorado's changed a lot. I've started investing here in 2005, and needless to say, the prices have gone up just unimaginably. So on paper, I had very good net worth, but I still had to work and still had to continue running my business because I did not have a cash flow strategy in place for this money, and I wasn't very concerned with what my money was doing. And I say that wealthy people know what their money is doing for them, and they want the money to be working at all times for them. They view money as a tool that is working for them. So I think that's a mindset thing. But until I transitioned different assets around to see how they were performing and really analyzing, what is my money doing for me? It was largely in equity, and it had a return of zero. So to transition that into assets that would pay cash flow, as well as have a good interest rate return, doesn't take long to do that, to have the goal of having a cash flow for you to be able to be truly wealthy, whatever that looks like for you.
Mhm. So, talk to me a little bit about how that might translate for people that are not yet wealthy, right? Like, how can they adopt those mindsets when so much of the time, so many of us are living paycheck to paycheck and just trying to survive? And, um, but that wealthy mindset is available to us. And could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's another thing that I became pretty aware of when working with the wealthy people, is just that they have a view of money, that money is abundant. And I know that that sounds small to people, but when you really think about it and you really, just think about your view on money. Do you view money as, there's only so much of it, and if I take some money from someone, then I'm taking from someone and making someone else less wealthy. They view money as really like a stream of water, and that money is always flowing. It's always flowing, and it's always abundant. It's always coming. And so I think that even changing my mindset, I didn't really probably have a mindset about money, but once I did learn about the abundance mindset, I made a point of changing that. And I know that sounds small, but if you believe that, I believe that more money is, if you know it's flowing and it's coming, and it just gives you a different perspective on money.
It's so interesting because you say that that's small, but it's huge. That mindset tweak is huge. I actually was explaining this to a friend of mine recently, and I got this image in my head that money is a little bit, rather than being like a stream where it's in flow, it's more like a fountain where it comes in and it goes up and it goes down and then it comes back in. And it's kind of this circular thing. And the power of the fountain, the pump that makes that go,
Mm-hmm.
is your willingness to circulate. So for me, if I just donated this weekend to a woman I met, I donated $1,000. Everybody else was donating 10. Well, why did I do 1,000? Because to me, 1,000 is part of that pump. It's more going out. That means that more will come in, right? The pump is stronger because there's more circulating, right? And so, and please forgive me that I hope that didn't sound like a brag, but all I'm
Oh
saying is
no.
that the more that goes out, to me, I mean, don't spend beyond your means. I'm not saying go spend a ton of money. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that get that the circulation of money is an imperative to creating wealth and to creating community and to uplifting people. Unless money is going out, there are not jobs. And unless those
Mm-hmm.
people are not spending, there's not a community. There's nothing for us to do together, right? This is an interactive thing. And so all of us benefit with the spending and earning of money. All of us. It's not a zero-sum game. And so even for me, I came home and I was like, oh my gosh, that was such a great visual. For me, is that I want a really strong pump in that fountain so that the circulation of that wealth is bigger, it impacts more, it's stronger, and it's more fun for me too, right? I like a powerful fountain, right? So
Mm-hmm.
does that sound right to you, or do you feel like, is there something in there that doesn't work?
No, no, I think that that's a great analogy. And I think something that kind of offshoots from that is that wealthy people tend to, well, the ones that I've met, and granted there are, stereotypes and all of that, but wealthy people I meet that have been successful are very giving. And it's that same abundance mindset. There's plenty for me. There's plenty for me to help you get. And what I find very interesting about wealthy people, as opposed to, the average person who does the 401k, they put their money into this because they're told that's what they need to do. A wealthy person invests their money in people. They invest in teams of people. They invest in ideas. So let's use real estate as an example. So they find a project that they find compelling, interesting. They'll do their due diligence, but they'll look for a team that has experience, who has proven themselves to be successful, and then they'll put their money into that team, and then they'll step back and let the team do their thing, and then they'll, of course, check in on the reports and be, but largely they're passive. As well as wealthy people invest in business plans, in say they invest directly in the business, whereas us with a 401k, who knows where our money is invested in? It's invested in maybe thousands of companies that we know nothing about. They'll invest their money directly in a business, just someone's business. And what is this person's business plan? Same thing, do all their due diligence, but they invest directly to people, in people, more than like a 401k, or just kind of throwing your money out there and hoping that it grows, but you're not really sure what you're invested in. So I would say the wealthy are very, very conscious on who they're investing in, and where their money is and what it's doing at all times.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that approach is true in real estate too for them?
Yes. And I find that they don't want to do they don't want to be the landlord. They don't want to be managing. They just want to understand what the exit plan, what the business plan is for this particular property, and then they want to invest in it. And then they'll just kind of sit back and review the quarterly reports and collect their monthly distributions of cash flow, and do the same thing with another investment that comes along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love that. So talk to me a little bit about debunking these myths, right? Like, what are those myths that that you really learned about from these people that you think we learn the opposite, right? So much of the time.
Mm-hmm. And I think, well, I've gone over a few of them already, but the one big one is 401ks. And I know that might not be a popular, subject, but I really believe that we have to take a look at why we do things, and if these things that have been set up for us by I'm not sure who work to our advantage or not. And I think the thing that brought my attention to that is I look over lots of wealthy people and their financial statements, and virtually none had 401ks. And that to me was kind of eye-opening, because I was like, what? Maybe I didn't understand. It didn't compute to me. So that's a myth. And then you have to look in more closely, and then it makes sense, because the wealthy people want to know what their money's doing at any and all times. They want to know how it's the returns that they're generating, but they also want to know what they prepare more than we do for taxes. And by not preparing for taxes, that's a huge thing that the majority of people don't do. If someone tells you how much they have in their 401k, do they really have that much in their 401k? Because in 20 years, what is the tax rate going to be? And how much of what they have is going to be taxed? And that to simply not address your tax, to mitigate for your taxes, is something that the wealthy do all the time. I use the analogy that it's two people playing a game of chess, and the regular Joe investor, is looking one move at a time. He's looking, how are my investments doing? What is the return? Well, the wealthy person is looking several moves ahead. They're checking, okay, how are my investments doing? But on the other hand, what is my exit strategy? What are my how can I, mitigate for my taxes in this? They're looking side by side, income and taxes. And that is why the wealthy people get wealthy.
So the myth that I heard there was, saving your 401k, your taxes will be less when you are finally pulling your money out. So, don't worry about that piece. You're doing a tax deferred type of program, right? And you're going to defer it so that you're paying taxes later. So in your experience, or from what you've seen from the wealthy people, is that true? That tax rates will be lower later?
No. I think any of us can see what's happening in our country, regardless of, what's happening politically. We know that we're spending a lot of money, we're in a lot of debt. And as people may not know this, but as our tax rates are actually on the low side, historically, they've been much higher than they are right now. So we know that the tax rates are going to change in the future. And are you prepared for that?
So I think the tax rates are going to change. But I also think that people don't want to live a lesser lifestyle when they retire. So, for example, me personally, I'm not going to want to retire until I can have the lifestyle that I have now without the work. And so, what does that mean for me? I've got this lifestyle with this house and this car, and this excitement and joy for travel, right? But now I have now I'm not working. So now I've got more time to travel more, hang out with my parents more, hopefully take care of my parents more, take care of my own health stuff, right? So if I'm to look at my retirement, I'm going to say I need 50% more than what I'm making today, at least, in order to continue to benefit from those many years of work, right? I don't want to have my lifestyle go down, right? And be able to afford less. So if in fact, the money that I'm pulling from whatever my retirement vehicles are, if I'm pulling more than what I'm doing now, even if tax rates stay exactly the same, my tax rate has not gone down. It's exactly the same. So I'm not paying less taxes later. I'm paying the same taxes later, right? But if the tax rates go up, now you're paying even more. So this whole idea of deferring taxes, just kind of, it is a strategy, and it's an okay strategy. Just be aware that you're not going to be paying less taxes later, right?
Correct.
Now, on the benefit side of that is you're also having, and you tell me what you think of this, right? You have this money that's going in that's compounding without being taxed. So it happens more quickly, right? So you've got more on the back end, supposedly, but you're still, that's not, so that's a compounding. It's a great investment strategy for growth, possibly, depending on what you're doing with it. But it's not necessarily a tax strategy. Does that make sense?
Correct. Yeah. And I think, I don't want to tell everybody to just, get rid of your 401ks. Obviously, a lot of people are pretty, they're into them. But what I do say is be really aware of what kind of returns you're getting. What kind of fees are you paying? I ask a lot of people, and they're just not aware of these things. You'll look at the prospectus and what they've made over the last 5-6 years, and sometimes it's like 3 or 4% after fees. And I bring that to their attention, and they were not aware of that. They're looking at the long term of what they think will be projected for them. But I think it's really important to do things that will lower your fees, especially, but also get the maximum growth that you can. And I think people try to put off the financial responsibility onto your whomever that is, whether that's your Merrill Lynch person or just the 401k administrator at your work. But I say be more interactive of what's going on. Know what your options are. If you want to take maybe part of your money from your 401k, there are ways of investing some of that money, setting up a self-directed IRA, investing in real estate. There are other things that you can do. And I honestly don't have a preference, but I just want people to know that you should be in control, that you probably know more than these professionals that are managing your money. No.
Yeah. And I really kind of want to do a deep dive on the analysis of a 401k. Would you be interested in doing that with me on Extra?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah. I'd really like, because I kind of want to dive deep because we have been trained. And I know you're so funny. You're like, well, I don't know where that comes from. And I think we all kind of know that it was marketing, right? Like somewhere along the way, this marketing trend started. And so, but I think that we should not be subject to marketing only. I think that we have the opportunity with all the financial education that we have out there now to really take a look at that. And so I'd love to do that in Extra if that sounds good to you.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Perfect. So do you have a way for people to reach you, Stephanie?
Yeah, for sure. I get a lot of the same questions asked to me over and over again. And so I set up a group of question and answer videos of, I keep adding to it every week. So, hopefully we'll get up to about 100 of the most commonly asked questions. So you can go to askstephanienow.com, and that's, you can get onto my website and look through some of those questions and answers. My actual website is www.erbewealth.com. And there's tons of content. I find it very rewarding to be able to educate people. And so I'm constantly updating the content. Because I view this kind of as my purpose in life. And so there's plenty of reports, ebooks, all that great stuff.
Great. Yeah. And I wanted you to mention that there is a gift, right? If they go to your website, and that website is the erbewealth.com. Tell us a little bit about one of the free reports people can get.
Yeah, I have a report. It's the 5 reasons why passive investing might be for you. And it's just a great dive into all the reasons that you may consider an investment that gives you a passive income every month.
Nice. Yay. Thank you for that.
Sure. Thank you.
Yay. So Stephanie, I have 3 rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You ready for those?
I am ready.
Okay. Awesome. So Stephanie, give us one super tip on getting started investing in real estate.
I think the biggest tip I can give you is probably a mindset tip that you can do it, and that not to be afraid to get educated. There's so much information now out on the internet about learning these investments that used to be reserved for very wealthy people, banks, insurance companies, are now available to us average people. And the only reason that is the case is because of the information available on the internet. And so I would say don't be afraid to dive in, to educate yourself, and to learn that there are other investments outside of the stock market.
Yay. And then what would you say is one strategy on being successful in real estate investing? So if you're already in it, how do you be successful?
I think definitely setting goals, that's, a pretty simple answer, but it really is true. When I started, I envisioned how could I retire? And I reverse engineered that back to how much do I need to come in every month. And from that, then I viewed money that I had and what is this money doing for me right now? And from that, I was able to eventually get enough money to replace my income. So I think just having goals, maybe they don't have to be that big. Maybe it's, I would like to do one alternate, they call them alternate investment a year, to see how, this changes our lifestyle in terms of uh, the passive income and the tax savings that you would get. And I say just be consistent. Whatever you're doing, just keep at it. Do it. I remember when I started investing in real estate, I was like, I'm going to invest in one single family home a year. Just have, some goals and some direction of what you see for your future, and then act on it. I see lots of people that talk about it and they talk about it and they don't ever act on it. You got to act on it.
Right. Cool. Awesome. And then what would you say is one daily practice that you do that contributes to your personal success?
I said that I had someone else ask me something similar. I block time for myself. I know that sounds like very
perfect,
simple, and but truly, especially if you're a mom or, you've got lots of stuff going on, if you can block yourself time to accomplish, say, I want to accomplish these 3 things, whatever they are, and that you get that done every day, that's going to move you ahead towards your goals.
Nice. Thank you for that. This show so far has been amazing. Thank you so much for all that you've contributed. I can't wait to get to extra.
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
Yeah. So ladies, stay tuned with Stephanie and I for extra. We're going to do a deep dive on 401ks and why that may not be the best investment for you and for a place to put your money. So we're going to talk about that. If you are subscribed, stay tuned. And if you're not, but would like to be, go to realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com. You know this, you get 7 days for free. So check it out and then you can stay on board or not, up to you. But it's realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com. For those of you that are leaving Stephanie and I now, thank you so much for joining us for this portion of the show. I so appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, remember, goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart deeply desires. I'll see you soon. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to find out more about how to become a blissful millionaire, go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.